I'm good.
You good? You ready, Bruce?
Yeah.
I'd like to call the special select board meeting of Thursday, June 20th, 2024 to order. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
One recommended.
You got one?
I move to add to the agenda as the last item under new business, consideration of an additional request to use town hall.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 3, executive session. The appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer employed for 1 VSA 313A3.
So is this gonna be Dana and Steve both?
Just do one at a time.
You could do,
Or,
you might want to do them individually and together. I don't know.
Enter in, we'll invite one of them first and then,
And Dana. We got three
yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
Do probably individually first.
Yeah, just do Dana first.
do you, yeah, I was gonna say, we usually do Keith last
yeah.
because.
He sits in on all of them.
I move to enter executive session to consider the evaluation or employment of a town employee pursuant to Title I VSA Section 313A3 and invite Dana Griswold to attend the executive session and Keith Barton
We're on chain, right?
and Shane Barton. Sure.
All those in favor? Aye. Come on in, Dana. No, Dana. Just Dana. Only.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Came out of the first executive session at 6:12. Anyone can make a motion?
I move to enter executive session to consider the evaluation or employment of a town employee pursuant to Title I VSA Section 313A3 and invite Steve Twitchell and Keith Barton and Shane O'Keefe to attend the executive session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rated Steve,
Hold on.
So we'll just have, on Monday.
Well, we got Will and Shane too, but we don't really have anything else on the agenda. I think we got paving and safety, and that's it. So it shouldn't be too bad. Good. Shane, do you have the recorder on?
I'll sit on the left hand.
Came out of executive session about
32.
6:32. Item 4, minutes approval, meeting of 6/3/2024 and 6/10/2024.
I move to approve the minutes of the select board meeting of June 3rd, 2024, and June 10th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 5 is select board pay orders.
I move to approve the pay orders for payroll and accounts payable.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 6, announcements and correspondence.
I've got a few, just a second, I got it on my computer. Got to finish. Before you, today you have a copy of a resignation from Dick Dale from the Planning Commission. Also from the Planning Commission, Elsie Smith resigned back in January, which I didn't really realize, but it's effective June 1st. So there's 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission. We also have a bunch of other vacancies, and I handed out a copy of a notice of vacancies I put out and posted to the website today, and that includes, I included the select board vacancy for election, but Planning Commission, Winter Regional Commission, we need a representative, Town Hall Renovation Committee needs 2 members, the Village Wastewater Committee needs 1, Housing Commission, there's a position that's coming up. I don't know if the incumbent wants to stay or not. Mountain Towns Regional Advisory, Recreation Director Advisory Committee, that's included in your meeting packet, the resignation from Sarah Kiefer. And then the 2 communication unit, excuse me, we need alternate representatives to the communications districts and also a deputy health officer. So you've got a lot of positions that are open. So anybody in the community who's interested in participating, let us know.
I'm not volunteering, but
Darn.
I've done it enough. But the Development Review Board has the 2nd alternate position open.
Okay. Duly noted. So those are my announcements. Insofar as correspondence in the meeting packet, we have a copy of the letter to the property owners of parcel 103-006-005, seeking to discuss conveyance of their property to the town for flood control purposes. And that was approved in the meeting on the 3rd of June. We have a letter, I mentioned a letter of resignation from Sarah Kiefer. Sorry, we have a letter of thanks from HCRS for the town's annual contribution. I think it's a little over $1,300 or so. Very interestingly, we have an Act 250 jurisdictional opinion indicating that short-term rentals on Under the Mountain and Crossroads, that area, there's one person who owns a bunch of them, and that, it turns out, is subject to Act 250. And so I would imagine we'd be seeing an Act 250 application come in. Also in the meeting packet is the letter to Act 250 from a neighbor's representative. We also have a stipulation and settlement agreement between the town and Vermont Wood Chips. That was the zoning notice of violation that was issued in 2019, I think it was. We finally settled on that for $14,000 fine. We have a notice from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns about Act 133, and those are changes to the Vermont Open Meeting Law. Further guidance is going to come out from VLCT, but there's some big changes in the Open Meeting Law. Lastly, there's the May report from the Wyndham County Sheriff's Office for activities in the town. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 7, visitors and concerned citizens. Anybody? No? Moving on to item 8, town official business. 8A, short-term rental administrator, update on progress and discussion on procedures.
Good evening. Happy to share. I'll give you the summary first, and then some of the details behind the summary, okay? I think, depending on who's doing an account of short-term rentals in Londonderry, we are somewhere between 4.5% and 7% of the way there. Which is something, and I'm eager for that number to climb higher. That means 6 complete so far. I've got 3 more inspections between now and Monday. 11 applications that the town will be finished by Monday. And then the others are in process. So we've collected getting close to $4,000 so far in registration fees. And just to put that in context, if everybody registered a hosted STR, the total revenue for the town for those fees would be around $35,000 every year. If everyone was registering an unhosted, that's the $500, sort of the out-of-town rental, that would pull in close to $100,000. And right now we're looking at about a 4 to 1 of the unhosted, or the more expensive ones, to the local hoster. So, questions about that? No? Okay, I'll keep moving
Well,
through.
7% have registered? Is that what you're saying?
I would say,
Up
no,
to-
I'm counting the applications that are like in process, so close to being,
And so they're due on July 1st?
yes, that's when when the ordinance actually kicks in.
We're a little late getting everything rolled out, though.
Yeah.
So I'd have to give a little leeway this year.
Well, I'm going to ask you when we should discuss that very point. So, the fire marshal impact from when the original ordinance required an inspection for everyone, that was modified in March. That has a significant influence on people. I've talked to two people who've registered so far, and the fire marshal visits. Both parties acknowledged it was really important to get those fixes made, but the price tag was over $2,000 in each case. And nobody's resisting the need to do the work as far as CO monitors and hardwired fire alarms. But, changing window sizes to be compliant with the fire marshal. So I've only talked to 2 people so far about that, but that's a very real topic.
So, just to revisit that, is the fire marshal automatically doing STRs that are 8 occupants or more, and then anything under that was on call only? Is that?
Yeah, well, originally it was everyone, and then the amendment moved it to 9 and larger.
9 and
And
larger.
and that's, that fits with Division of Fire Safety protocol. They've got 3 different
We
sizes.
matched their
Exactly, yeah.
language.
Yeah, they told us they weren't going to do it, so we had to change our
Yeah.
ordinance accordingly. We didn't want to have a requirement that people couldn't fit,
Yeah.
and couldn't make.
And that office has been really responsive, but they're also short-staffed.
Very busy and
Yeah,
short
yeah.
staffed.
So 9 and larger require it, but a number of people, it was locals who knew about the ordinance right away that acted on it quickly. So, I had a great meeting with Mr. Sund and Mrs. Clark. Learned a lot about that vision of, or that version of the real estate market and the housing here. So they've trained me up on a number of the tools that the town has at our disposal. But the reason for meeting is to talk about how we're going to measure bedrooms, because bedroom count drives short-term rental income, and we don't have good data on, and, you know.
They have clear definitions.
Well, yes.
More clear.
Yeah, but, so we're working on that, and it's feeling really productive.
Thought a bedroom had to have a closet.
Well,
There's
Not in a short-term rental.
There's different things we do, like fire safety has their own stuff.
yeah,
The list is
Listers have one,
That's-
and we had the wastewater, so
Yeah.
it's a
Where
work in
usually
progress.
considered a bedroom unless it has a closet.
Technically,
But as far
that's
as-
true.
That's the issue.
As far as
A lot of
short-term
bedrooms
rentals
does not have
go,
a
though,
closet, so.
But fire safety, anything that you can sleep on is a bed.
Right.
Period.
If
So,
it's a queen size bed, that's 2 people.
yeah, they have numbers per bed too, and so there's different
as far as
different
short-term
departments have
rentals go,
different
it could be a tent.
ways to
It
look
doesn't
at
have to
it.
be,
right, yeah.
it's a much different set of parameters for
Yeah.
short-term rentals.
It is, yeah. And that, well, I'll come back to that topic later, because a number of things that are just fine because they're unregulated in a private home suddenly get a lot of scrutiny when the fire marshal is present. And I'm not objecting to that, it's just, it does create some interesting tension when, of course, the house can be what you want it to be when it's your private home and you're just hosting a party or a wedding or something like that. And you create, when you turn it into public, you know, a public building, it's,
Which is by definition.
it is,
what
that's
it
what
is.
short-term rental is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any problems with inspections, people not wanting them? Or?
No, that is going very well. It's been really smooth so far. I would say the only debate has been about actually the bedroom count. I've got one coming up that the owner is claiming to have more bedrooms than it looks like that's not what the listers have, and so we'll sort that one out soon. But no resistance to having the
Good, so
business. So-
you feel fine about doing it?
Oh, yeah, no, that's been a highlight so far. I could write a local history book after this, so. No, it's being really fun. I just want to put the town of Plymouth on your radar. They're in the paper right now because they've had a short-term rental ordinance. It's just about to hit the 3-year mark. We have a short-term rental administrator, and the thing that was in the newspaper, in the Vermont Journal this last week, was that they're just filing their first batch of fines for non-compliance. And it raises a question, and you all can decide, maybe we have a conversation outside of the select board meeting, we could do an executive session thing. Whatever you think is appropriate, because you know the protocol better than I do. But Tom, you mentioned some leniency or some grace. Right now it's feeling like there's not a lot of awareness that the ordinance has been passed, let alone that it's kicking in 12 days from now. So I've been talking with Tina. I'd like to put a simple, third of a sheet of paper in the tax bill that goes out next month, because we know everybody opens that piece of mail. I think it would catch everybody, especially out-of-towners who aren't seeing the postings, don't know where they get the local, what's happening at the town level. But that does go out in July, and it means that, so you have a...
Is it possible to work with the Vermont Short-Term Rental Alliance for them to send to their local members? Because they've got a big membership representing the short-term rental owners. They're a good organization. They may be able to help out. You know.
I would like not to, from what I know about them. That's a Burlington-based business that I've read everything they've published, and I've read their testimony at the State House.
Yeah.
If I can editorialize a little bit about them, their model is, I believe, to register every short-term rental in the state with them for a fee that strikes me as very high. And it's so that everyone gets their star of approval and gets their packet of, you know, being a good neighbor and a good host. I like that agenda, but that's a business, and they're
Right, but if they're members, if they can write a letter or give a note or an email, they would probably do to their membership in town and save them a fine of $200, they're doing their membership a favor, is the way I look at it.
Yeah, I just don't think that, I don't know how that would be binding. I think that.
Nothing binding, it's just, it's one way of getting a hold of people who you may not know are out there, that's all.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Well, I've been
it's just
using
an idea.
platforms to message every host that's got something listed, and, yeah, and I'm not feeling adversarial about them, I just think that they're at the opposite end of the state, and what they're doing, they have not been in favor of many of the Vermont towns' ordinances.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it would be an interesting, well, maybe a tense partnership.
But again, if they can save their members a fine, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it would be.
Anyway.
So I just want to get everybody registered, just to be clear. That's my goal.
So if they won't register,
Yeah,
because they don't want to pay the money,
yes.
what's going to make them pay the fine? What's our recourse?
You will send them, the town will send them what's in the ordinance, which is a non-compliant.
Notice of violation.
Yeah, and it comes with a price tag that's even higher than some of the nightly rates of.
Per day, too.
Yeah,
Per day, and then if they don't pay it by a certain amount of time, then they don't have short-term rental for a year.
Yeah, and the story, because Peru has had, it's a very differently worded ordinance than the Londonderry. But Peru says they're down to their final 3 registrations, and that the thing that has created some action from those 3 folks, and I don't know who we're talking about, just this is the summary from their select board. Just recently, it was the letter home that was registered mail and went with, had a bill for the violation. And that's what got the conversation. And so now everybody's talking about registering. So that's the recourse. And
Significant enough to get attention.
yeah. I guess I'm curious, and not to make anyone commit to this right now, but maybe we want to schedule a session about what sort of timetable feels right for you all. I have a meeting tomorrow with the short-term rental administrator from Plymouth. He was too busy today. And I didn't know about him until I read the article, talked to the town clerk and gotten her take on how they proceeded. But do you want to give me some direction on
What to do July 2nd?
The ordinance took much longer than the ordinance took much longer than we had hoped. We had hoped to have about 6 months for people to be aware.
Yeah.
And the ordinance took a lot longer to get passed. My sense is you give them a month for the first year.
September 1st.
September 1st?
Because we were 3 months behind.
That's true.
You know, we had an ordinance and then we batted it around for a long, long time. But, we were 3 months, I think we're 3 months out from where we wanted to be.
Does that 3 months seem like, if you're at 7%, sort of an unknown number? I mean,
Yeah, there's some very different accounts. You know, we're being solicited by information services. So,
Does that seem realistic, September 1st? I mean,
I think given what's happened in the last 10 days, that, I mean, it feels like we've got good momentum right now. And also, it seems to be word of mouth that's, you know, it's, so someone local mentioned on the phone to an out-of-town owner that they were registering their place as locals, and that was what brought it to the out-of-towners' attention, so.
would it make sense to do a short extension and then consider an additional one if we don't get the response necessary? Or do you think just pushing it out is, I mean, does that make it,
Well,
take the pressure off too much? Or?
I just feel like,
Unless the people who've already complied, who did it by the book, should let other people slide.
Also, I would think if you were able to put in a notice in the property bills, property tax bills, the time people get it, they will be aware by September 1st that they need to do that.
You could mention September 1st
September 1st.
in it.
yeah,
Well, there's only 2 months.
yeah, I mean, that, given, if that sounds, I mean, you know, what's the best way to communicate with people who don't live here, who love the home they own here, and, you know, are renting it? I don't know if there's a reliable way of getting that word out, but if it goes out in late July, right, isn't that the tax bill?
In July, yeah, we try to set the tax rate early July.
Yeah, but if it gives, if we can assume everybody's gonna open that, and most people are gonna read that note if we keep it simple and targeted,
Yep.
I think September 1st would be a really sensible amount of response time.
I think we all knew this was gonna be one of those things we gotta figure out as we go.
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's not many towns have really gone too far. I mean, Plymouth sounds like they're the farthest along.
yeah. Yeah, and they've had a lot more time to publicize the existence of the ordinance and the expectations, so,
I'd like to hear what their administrator said their first year was like.
yeah.
I spoke with him early on,
Frank,
yeah.
is it, okay, yeah, that's fine.
I'd like to see people have enough time so that, you know, I don't think it's enough time. I'll give them another month. Give them to October. It's gonna take a while for all this information to go from here to New Jersey to New York to Connecticut.
Well, there'll have to be other notification other than just in the tax bill.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the event that somebody says, oh, I got the tax bill, and then they store it for 2 months without even
Sure.
opening it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's other ways that we can add to that as well.
When they see the 14.3% increase in their property tax bill,
They might
they
open
get
it
that
right
up.
away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough bill to open this year. So,
Tell them it's a surprise inside.
Chad, you had a comment?
I think in the beginning, I'm sorry, I was reading something and I wasn't fully paying attention, but I heard closets, no closets, queen size bed, leniency, gray area, executive session. There should be no leniency. You show leniency to one, you have to show them all. We have zoning bylaws. If you break the zoning bylaw for one, you break it for everybody after that. For hundreds of years, we've said no to certain things. You start giving leniency, small town, what are we, 1,600 people? Word travels fast that Bob and Betty got leniency, but Tom, Dick, and William did not. I don't see leniency being in the conversation. Rules are rules, and that's it. You break the rule, you pay a fine. You don't allow somebody to do something until they can get it to code or regulation. No, these are the rules and these are the regulations, no leniency.
I would agree. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the only reason we would be discussing leniency right now is because we were so far behind on getting our ordinance passed. And just this year, if we did, it would be just this year, so you had time to hear more about it because it took us a lot longer than planned.
Making a very thin line of leniency. so-
Yes, yeah.
But after that timeline.
Yeah, just
September
a date
3rd,
and that's that.
October, that's it, no more leniency.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I use the word ignorance, I just, people are just waking up to this being a rule to play by.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So I haven't encountered, I mean, people are challenging the fee, and we could have a whole conversation about.
It's not a high fee.
It takes your money, right? But, so.
It's not a significant fee that.
Well, yeah, but no one, I haven't talked with anyone who's pushed back in any fundamental way against playing by the rule. In fact, there's been a lot of appreciation that this is in effect, and or it's about to be in effect. So it's more like, you know, if at halftime it turns out there are a whole bunch of rules you didn't know you had to play by. You know, that's, yeah. So,
I get it.
yeah, I'm not wanting anyone not to need to follow what the ordinance says that you all wrote. The question is, how do they know that that's, yeah.
Well, that's all I was gonna say too.
Yeah.
I was gonna just agree with the leniency we're talking about. It's my understanding anyway, that it's only in the registration deadline, not anything else.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's important. I wouldn't want any other leniency
Yeah,
necessarily.
no,
so.
And if we push it out that extra month, we'll never have to push it out again. That'll be the end of it.
Because we'll know it's every year.
Well,
Give them their
I think
chance.
that's true.
It occurs to me that if you send the notice along with their tax bill, that probably a lot of them are gonna send their check for that registration fee along with their tax payment. So I would, there might be a situation where some of the checks coming in are for, let's say, $500 more than what the tax, you know, they put it all in one check. I'd be aware of that, but it seems to me the effective date probably should be when taxes are due. Because that's when a lot of that stuff's gonna roll in anyways. And it's just before the winter gets here, which is when a lot of those folks are gonna start renting their places.
No, it'd be, I forget what it'd be this year, but it's usually the first Monday or Tuesday in October.
So how do we, should we meet?
I don't think any of this I don't think any of this qualifies for executive session.
Not until you are contemplating issuing a notice to an individual.
Yeah.
Could we do anything like that?
And if you're gonna talk to all three of us, it's a board meeting anyway, so
Yeah, okay.
this is what you gotta do.
Yeah, no, I just, if, I don't know how, we want to decide something on the spot. I'd
Maybe
like to-
check in late July. We have a new board member by then.
If we said anything tonight, we'd have to ratify it anyway, probably,
Yeah.
right?
You can't vote on anything, yeah, you'd have to,
Yeah.
Right, there wouldn't be any change made tonight, but talking about it, then it gets on the agenda.
well, maybe the thing to do is see what happens, you know, what the numbers are on July 1, or soon thereafter.
So our
What's
next,
that?
our second select board meeting in July is the 15th, we'd have a full board then. We can make our determination then.
Right.
So I'll have you back for, see how many people have gone registered then, and we can
Okay,
set a firm deadline.
all right. And are you three comfortable with that 2-week period between the 1st and the 15th being some kind of grace period,
Yeah.
rather than, you said, what am I gonna do on July 2nd?
Yeah, I think I am. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
think
the same.
as a one-time deal, I think that's, I
Yeah.
mean, we're working towards considering something, so
Yeah.
to try to do something for that, separate for that 2-week period.
The first year rollout's always gonna be a little shaky.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe us acknowledging that we intended to have more time and then we chewed up the first half of it. We weren't just getting past.
So you're thinking on July 15th to have a formal decision on the leniency date to
Yep.
either September or October 1st?
Yep.
Okay. I'll put that on the agenda.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Anything else, Andy?
that's what I wanted to cover. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
8B, recycling coordinator, consider amendment to the ordinance to regulate the operation of short-term rentals.
So I gave you a couple of sheets with some suggested language because I think this is important and I think when people register, they need to know about this. And there's some signage that I passed along to you also, but I have lots more so that you could decide what you want to use. But it would be great if it's right in the ordinance so everybody knows from the get-go what's required of them as far as trash recycling, all that kind of good stuff, or bad stuff.
My idea for the first year would just be give them some information when they register with the other stuff you're giving them. And not confuse the ordinance, because it's going into effect here in a couple weeks. And next year, when we go and look over if we want to change anything in the ordinance, then we put it in there. That's my feeling, just because
I think it needs to be
you
in,
muddy the waters.
I think it needs to be in right at the get-go because it says it's important enough that it's part of the ordinance.
Well, it wouldn't take effect for 60 days, or is it 30?
It's 60 days from adoption.
60 days from the time we actually put it in the ordinance.
the things I added to the packet for tonight, I meant just to call attention to what's already in the ordinance. So there's a mention of garbage in the, the statement of purpose in Article 2. And there's the Vermont statute, which I put in there, because that's what drives the current state post, this is part of my inspection. This has to be filled out and has to be posted. Right, you've seen this before, it's the one familiar form.
Yep.
So it's in the packet for tonight. It has a garbage disposal or garbage management note that's in the health section. And right now, the state, and I know that Esther knows the details of the statute related to Vermont's recycling and food waste and garbage. Right now, the state is saying that people have to acknowledge the garbage management issue. And I don't know, there's one other document that I just discovered. It's not even 6 months old, but it's the new Division of Fire Safety they've put more detail in since they took over, the oversight of rental properties in Vermont, and they've gone a lot further in the specificity, and they, like you, acknowledge the state law that requires separation of recyclables and also, penalizes or makes it illegal to put food waste in the trash. And I don't know if I guess my question is, are we gonna get out ahead of what the state form currently, like they've got something that they insist on for short-term rentals, and that's part of the checklist.
In addition to this?
No, this is it right now.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and
But you're saying they're updating this.
well, they haven't yet. They've
Yeah.
they've
It's in the works.
yeah, they've got some more specificity in this much longer packet that notes more of the Vermont statutes. But right now, this is the level of detail.
So what I would add to that is my experience with people coming from out of town, and we have a large amount of short-term rental
Yeah.
owners from out of town. Their laws are very different than ours, so that form says refuse, and to me, that sounds like garbage, trash.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right, so, talking about it in this way and separating the trash from the food waste and recyclables is more specific. And, people don't know what is in the statute, they don't go to look at statutes.
Yes, no, the statute's just what produced this. I mean, that's, you know, that's where this kind of came from. Yeah, I mean, your point, I think, or your goal is to educate people so that they're not taking blended or unsorted refuse to the Londonderry transfer station.
Well,
right?
they would, some people might be using that, but I would think a lot of the out-of-town owners would be hiring somebody else to pick up the trash.
Yeah, I mean, all the stories I'm getting right now are that it's local cleaners who are, as part of their visit at a flip, like that's who's taking the stuff to the Londonderry transfer station. And I mean, I can see sending out all this information as the registration packet. I don't know well, it's a question, should we make it a condition of registering, or should it be part of the follow-up for people who do register?
I think that brings up a good point. I might not be replying to your question, but just the fact that if the information is there for the tenant, if you will, to do the separation, whether or not they take it to its end place, if they throw it all in a trash bag and then a cleaning individual comes to take it, they're not going to sort it. It's going to go in the trash. So getting the people, the tenants to separate that is the goal, and then what happens to it by whomever afterwards is sort of, everybody can pick and choose the avenue to get rid of it, but if it's not sorted, it won't get done. So having that information with the tenant is.
This should go with the application.
Yeah, I think for this year, add this to the application or any follow-up. And then next year, we can actually put it in the ordinance, but.
Because
Like you're
you're gonna have
this things to add.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we
think-
have a committee that we've already formed, we haven't met yet, but to start talking about next year if we need to change anything.
So you mean you put it in the packet for this year and the next year maybe add it to the ordinance?
Yeah, that's because we can amend it. The way I see it going is you can amend the ordinance every year before the registration comes up. A certain amount of time.
Do it in the winter
before.
time.
Yeah, in the middle of winter, so people have time to see the new ordinance if we add anything. Because there's gonna be times where we're gonna see something that, yeah, we gotta tweak this, we gotta tweak that.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll have a contact list of all the, hopefully, of all the STR owners,
well-
and we could just mail it out to people or email it out.
Yeah, because I think people get used to doing things a certain way, so if you don't do it right at the get-go,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're going with, and I understand, it's just, I think amending the ordinance so many times the first year is
Yeah, we've
not
already amended it twice
best practice.
in the past 2 months.
Okay, I'm just concerned with getting the information out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the registration ends up being on October 1st and it takes 60 days to make an amendment, we go backwards through that and we try to have all of our changes made by,
March.
So, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
in plenty of time for the ordinance to be ready for the new registration year.
Yeah. In the meantime, there's nothing wrong with sending a PDF of Vermont
Statute.
recycling and
Yeah.
food scrap. I mean, we could send it as soon as we have reliable contact information for everybody registered.
Yeah, say if you want to get a packet together to give to Andy, that he can hand out.
I have lots of stuff, and you could decide what is going to be the most effective.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the other, just, can I tack on one more question about this? Because I was thinking about this from Peru, when Peru was going through its short-term ordinance. Our town lawyer cautioned us not to have to apply any standards to tourist visitors that didn't also apply to full-time residents.
Yeah.
And our big issue was noise because of some party houses in Peru, so we were tending to focus on that. But it seems like we have to be careful not to have a standard that the weekender would have to live by, I think. But we do apply different standards to renters or to tourists in terms of house safety. So I'm not,
It's a commercial building.
it's a public building, and so it seems like there's
It's a public
precedence.
building, not commercial.
Public, yeah. public.
Yeah.
Not in the state of Vermont.
Right.
at least.
But it seems
It'd
like
make it easier if it was.
you might be able to require through the ordinance certain behaviors of a tourist visitor that don't apply to year-round Londonderry residents. Because we do that with, for example, the most provocative thing is the window size. If it's too small for egress, you're fine, like the state won't touch that if you live in that house, but the moment you rent it out, go to RK Miles, order windows, wait 5 weeks, they're gonna be beautiful, but, good luck finding somebody who's got time to install them, which is the story of one of the couples here right now, is they're waiting on the window order. So, anyway, that just seems like the big question is are we expecting something of folks who are here for the weekend that we are not living?
So what's the point of having town bylaws if people that are gonna be visiting aren't gonna abide by it?
I guess I'm wondering if we can have laws that apply just to visitors, that are beyond what all the locals.
Why?
I have a feeling that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
guarantee you it won't work. What would be the point of that? To give them an exception
Oh, no.
when everybody else has to
No,
abide?
it wouldn't be giving them an exception, it'd be actually giving them stricter rules.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
They say.
Oh, I'm not trying to exempt them at all. Yeah, it's what you said.
It's the opposite.
It's actually-
Okay, maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, no,
It'd be
it's,
stricter rules on
yeah,
that.
stricter.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Probably something to bite off another day.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one for the town lawyer.
That would be one for the town council.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a way somehow with this short-term rental, with regulations of separating food and recyclables, so on and so forth, can we put a sticker or something that goes along with all those rules and regulations of do not put ashes in paper bags, do not put ashes in plastic bags?
Is that on the floor?
We're in the property management caretaking business. And there are so many houses that I go to that are short-term rentals. It's not the homeowner that's doing it, it's the short-term rentals. Walk into a house and it's full of smoke, and why? And then realize that the tin ash can is full of ashes sitting on a wooden floor. Or paper bag inside the tin can sitting on a carpeted floor.
Esther actually found Manchester's STR ordinance has something in there about the ashes.
Yeah, I guess I was really directing that towards you, Esther, but
Yeah.
I wondered, is there something like that? Have you ever heard of anything like that or seen of anything like that?
Yeah, it's in here.
Sort of a category.
That's a fire safety issue.
Waste.
Right, it's not really waste, but
You'd think it was common sense, but it's not that either.
it's not, that's
So
scary.
this is what it is in Manchester. So an occupant shall dispose of all trash, food waste, recycling materials, ash, and coals in receptacles provided for such purposes in accordance with subsection blah, blah, blah.
Oh, so then it's left up to
And
the
wait.
owner.
It might be a fire inspector thing to confirm that there's a container and a
And-
utensil to
And above,
Yeah, I don't know.
above that it says, and shall provide one or more adequate metal containers for disposal of ash and poles.
Oh, so then it's left up to the homeowner to supply it,
Yeah.
assuming the tenant then is going to
I think
Use it.
And I would,
There's some sort of reminder along with all these rules, that, hey, do not do this, please.
Yeah.
But where do you, if you have a, whatever, 11 AM checkout, I'm making that up.
No, no, go ahead.
I don't, but if you're busy cleaning up and you had a fire the night before, it's not completely cool in the morning.
Yeah, you should say that.
There might be rules, you know, the STR in-house rules that require you to get rid of them. You have to.
Well, this sounds like disposal, because, you know, where do you,
Well, if you put it in a metal can and you set it outside in a driveway or something as opposed to on a wood floor or a carpet.
Or on the back.
A driveway or a snowbank is a good place for it. In the summertime, I think I would put ashes on the driveway or in the, definitely not in the wood line, but,
no, I mean,
yeah, no.
we had a fire call in Peru because everybody was all dressed up, they were hitting the road, and they vacuumed out the wood stove, and guess what?
Oh my
Fire.
God.
Yeah, so,
there comes to a point where the homeowner needs to protect their own home, and there also
Yeah.
comes to the point where you can't fix.
The dust.
Should there be guidance to that in the short-term rentals that if you do have a fireplace, please recommend that the ashes go outside.
Training video.
How would be it?
I think the homeowner would really want to protect their
Yes.
home.
If I was a homeowner and I had people in there, I'd want to remove the ashes myself to make sure it was done.
But not everybody is hosting their.
Have a caretaker
would be
or
a
something to
caretaker,
it,
You
yeah.
know, that's something to sort out for sure.
Bruce?
New Year's Day 2000, a house burned down across the street because they put renters that actually overstayed their visit, put ashes in a paper bag and a cardboard box in a wooden barn. It was a major fire. I mean, they saved most of the house, but it was basically trashed. They had to tear it down. So, point well taken.
At least once a week.
Yeah.
At least once a week, I walk into a house and there are ashes in cardboard bags sitting in the kitchen. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Weston, on Troutcock Road, a house burned down this
Yes.
past winter because somebody put their ashes on the deck.
You could probably ask any firefighter for a long list of the same situation.
I've got, it happens 3 or 4 times a winter in one of our mountain towns.
I mean, it's stuff like that that we take for granted because we live around it. We have campfires all summer, we have fires in our houses all winter. Like, to us it seems stupid, but somebody who's never doing this and they come and visit themselves and said, oh, it's so nice to have a fire in Vermont. You know, they're not gonna think about something like that. It's something they've had to think about, so.
That's why
It's unfortunate, but you keep putting caution on the coffee cup, people are going to burn themselves, you know?
That's why a lot of people put electric or like gas ones in their house.
Right.
But that they ran out, so they don't have that problem. But, yeah. We all know there's some people out there who just aren't gonna figure it out.
Man, they come up here with all that money.
Anything else on
They
this?
figured that out.
Yep. Alright. Moving on to 8C, South Londonderry Master Plan Task Force amend consultant contract.
The task force, it's just, the contract right now calls for everything to be done at the end of this month. And I see Mimi's here, could probably speak to some of it, but request right now is to go into, not to meet during the summer, because they've had some delays, but not to meet during the summer, because they won't get anybody to come to a meeting, probably, and to push it out into the fall. And so really, that's all it would be, is just to move the end date of the contract out to, I think, end of November, or end of October? Something like that.
Mid-November.
Yeah. I think in the meeting packet, you've got Yeah, you got a letter from,
It's 25.
on page 25, yeah. So, yeah, and on page 26, you'll see what the actual, that's a snippet from the contract itself that we signed some time ago. Mimi, do you, anything else you want to add about the progress of the?
It was due to sort of the contract being confirmed late, and then we had a snowstorm on our initial meeting date, so that got pushed a month later. And we just didn't want to constrict our ability to notify the public, and we wanted to be thoughtful, so about what we were thinking about doing. And Stevens was very amenable to that, so.
Since it's saying mid-November, should we just say the end of November? Just make it easy.
Oh, I figured through November.
Yeah.
Through November.
Through November, yeah. Which would make it November 30.
Perfect. Anyone care to make that motion?
I move to accept the recommendation of the South Dairy Master Planning Task Force to extend the completion date of the South Londonderry Master Plan through November 30th, 2024, and authorize the town administrator to amend the consultant contract accordingly.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item 9, transfer station solid waste management. 9A's updates. I don't have anything to do.
I'm wondering if we've gotten any response from the RFP, Shane. Have you seen any?
They're supposed to be sending them to you, correct?
I had both of our names at this
Oh, no,
address.
I've not seen any. When do they do? Not for a while, right?
June 30th,
Yeah, so,
10 days.
right. We had paving bids in 2 o'clock today. I got one right at 2 o'clock. So they'll probably be last minute.
Okay.
But I've not received anything.
Okay, I don't truthfully expect that we'll hear from 2 of the 3. And the only other thing is Steve had a good report about rats at the transfer station, so he can tell you about that. It's working.
So we had a rat infestation, I suspect, that was driven by the flooding last summer. It got way out of our control to be able to trap and deter them from hanging out. So we hired, Green Mountain Pest Control?
Vermont Pest Control.
Vermont Pest Control, and they put out bait boxes in several stations, and today they checked them, and there was only one station that showed any activity. At the height of the problem, every station they were eating all the bait. So the problem is diminished. So I feel pretty confident that they're going to be able to, they'll still be giving us service from what I understand, but it's going to be probably a change in direction for them, maybe checking them less often type of thing. And I feel pretty confident that at the very least they decided to move back down to the stump dump. On another note, one thing I wanted to bring up earlier, we have a green, I call it leafy compost. It's been building for years and years and years. There's probably 1,000 yards of material in this thing. And every year we get it turned over, or every other year. This year I took it upon myself to dig into the bank and try to stir it up, make it available. And a lot of folks are taking advantage of the free compost we have. It's all vegetative compost. And to make a point, I've planted a bunch of tomato plants on the wall by the compactor. They're doing very well. They really like the stuff. So I feel pretty good about that one little aspect that we do up there. I bet we've had probably 20 or 30 people go dig their own dirt up to either fix their lawn or plant flowers or whatever.
I love the fact
Keep
that
busy.
people can
Thank
take
you.
it for free.
Great stuff.
But there's an issue with jumping worms in Vermont. So I don't know if you've seen any at the
Not in
compost
there,
pile.
not in there, haven't seen even earthworm and that
It's
stuff.
just an easy way to spread it, so.
What kind of ones did you say?
Jumping worms?
They look just like earthworms, but they're like, they take off like a snake and
They call them red wigglers in South Carolina. Bass love them.
probably spread from buying fishing.
Who
Fishing
knows,
worms.
yeah, very possible.
Yeah. Alright, moving on to item 10, roads and bridges, 10A's updates. Road mowing's going on.
Road mowing is happening. We had a couple culverts replaced on Barker Road. A couple other projects going on that we're probably going to wrap up more culverts within this month as contracted services, spending our previous year budget before next year starts.
The road crew's done a couple too, I believe.
Yeah.
Old,
Oh, he was telling me today.
That trail.
On space in the trail. That trail, yeah, that trail was one. I don't know, I just talked to Josh today and I'm spacing which ones he said they did.
Maybe, I can't remember either, but
You were
Anyway, they are out there.
Edge Hill today, is that?
that was
Oh,
one.
they did Wingrove Road yesterday, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, the culvert pile has been diminished pretty good this year.
We do have other projects that will happen in July that are going to use the rest of it. 2 of the 3-footers, there's a couple of larger projects. And then contracted services would be Winhall Station Road. There's a series through the pavement before that gets paved.
Yeah.
That's another goal is most of our paving this year is doing aprons and short sections, so we probably won't even spend our whole budget in anticipation of having larger projects in years to come, so.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Sounds good. Moving on to 11, item 11, old business. 11A, discuss participation in FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, building elevation 2486 and 2508 Vermont Route 11.
this is Scott Ross with us, and he was here some months ago, around April, was it? April 1st?
Yeah, we tried to go to see what the buyout program would be.
Yeah,
And the answer we got back from you all was it could be anywhere from 6 to 8 to 12 months.
well, that was from the state.
Well, it doesn't matter. 'Cause
Well, it does,
that's
because
really
it's
the
their
timeline.
program. It's not our, I'm just saying.
Well, it's not yours.
It's not our delay.
Either way, it affects me dramatically in the sense that when this flood happened, we had a flood in Colorado and we went through this process already. So the day that the flood started, we started with the SBA and FEMA, almost immediately. Not even getting to the point where I was at, knowing what could potentially happen. And that's been a year-long ordeal that I've gotten absolutely nowhere. So we're at a point where I do have a few small loans that came in from the SBA. The problem is the timeline for the buyout program won't work. Because I gotta start paying on these loans come October 1st. And so we went with the mitigation, which it does a couple things. It allows the city to have a tax base. I have a rental unit on the property, which we'll keep, and we want to make the property safe, because it is a hazardous flood zone, as I found out after purchasing the property. I think we all know the white elephant in the room, and what's a major cause of that flood is right across the street from me. And since we're not doing anything about that, we wanted to go with the mitigation. To raise the cottage that I'm living in another 2 feet, 3 feet, to get it out of the flood zone. The other home, at some point, we need to get rid of. It's a hazard. You know, it's a large modular. that's been sitting there since the flood.
Yeah.
So, right, and so the modulars needs to go away. We want to raise the cottage, and we have plans to build up on the top half of the property. It's 1.5 acres. And so we want to build up above the residence so that I can still have a rental on the property. And the barn. The barn is actually structurally good. It's the foundation that's been ravished by not only, what'd you have Irene?
Yep.
Yeah, and then this one.
Irene in 2011.
I mean, it's been there since '46,
Yep.
so it's gone through quite a bit. So we're looking to get the mitigation, which kind of benefits both parties. Well, it benefits the town and it benefits us as well.
Yep. And the white elephant you talked about, we did just get a part of our dam audit back, and if that property could maybe be moved out of the floodplain if that dam is gone, but that's a discussion for another day. And just a warning to you, I don't know if mitigation is going to work any faster, because we had a flood elevation project. I'm not trying to say it's not going to happen faster this time, but we had a flood elevation project that we completed about 2 weeks before this last flood. From
We
Irene.
closed it out last summer from 2013. But we had COVID,
hopeful.
all kinds of things happened.
You won't go through that process. I'm hopeful.
Well,
But I
take a
just
step
want you
back
to
and
know.
explain what you're telling me.
So the next two, Mike and Tammy's, I always call it Stoddard's because I take forever, but next to Mike and Tammy's, that post office that was raised, it's the old post office. So due to whatever, I wasn't involved with it from the start, but there was many delays, state, everything, and it took until last year, or the year before last year, to get it elevated. So I'm hoping that is not gonna happen to you, but I'm giving you a warning that from what we've seen, that did happen once.
And the reasons behind that?
He doesn't.
There was state, I believe there was state delays, there was,
There was all kind, I mean, the plats are here, you could tell. I mean, I've
they'd
been
have a
here,
better idea.
I've been here for 5.5 years.
I wasn't here through the whole project. Tom,
Yeah,
you have?
well, I came here and it was on the plate.
Yeah.
Early on in the process, the FEMA people were taken away to work on code. Just called them, said they weren't even there. And it was done by a contractor, Vermont contractor, the Connors brothers, who moved buildings. And it was done, and it was, Shane was the guy, keeping track of it, and making sure we were all honest, and, the money's going the right place. It just took us Rockham a long time. And it
Were
was-
there cost overruns?
There were, not really, there were some, but most of it had to do with that FEMA was off during COVID. Like the people that were in charge, they just didn't have the time to do it because people were dying. And when it was done, like the flood that happened afterwards came up 3 or 4 inches below. It was successful. The property has been saved. The town's getting its taxes. It was the U.S. Post Office for 45 years. What more important building in a community is the post office? So I'd say don't give up.
But what were the delays before COVID, when I wasn't really on board? Was it just time, just FEMA?
Yeah, we had,
There was a lot that had to be gone through.
yeah.
There had to be an evaluation of value to, a cost assessment. That took time. People had to come up from Boston. Then the state had to come in. And we had, the previous zoning administrator was very helpful. It just took time.
There were memorandums of understanding that Shane had to get. And a friend of ours who's an attorney did it for free. So whenever we went down to the hardware store and bought so many bolts, we had to prove that the bolts were being used.
Yeah, the state requirements were incredible, but there was one cost overrun, and that was because we put it out to bid eventually, and the bid was more than double what the original expectation was. So we had to put in for a budget increase to the state. That took 11 months. We put in a request, and it took a full 11 months just for them to say yes.
I'm not trying to say don't do it, I'm just trying to give you a real idea of what could happen. I'm hoping this does not happen, but worst case scenario, I'm trying to.
I know, but we're involved in COVID, which is water under the bridge kind of thing. I mean, I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I don't think I'd been here 8 months before I lost everything.
I just want you to have information that the last time we did this, it took a long time.
Yeah, I know.
I just want you to have all the information you can have.
And this is a written expression of interest in the application, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to get it going and you decide you don't want to do it later, at least you got to get this going now.
No, of course I want to get it going. And we wanted to have both of them going at the same time, but we're only allowed one of them, which is why I'm here tonight.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting rid of you guys buying the property, it becoming basically useless to the rest of the town. We're here to improve the property and do something with it that you have the tax revenue, both from a rental standpoint, not short-term.
Local rental.
And the property taxes.
I just don't want to pay the surprise to be dumped on.
I get that. I mean, we have to put that, it's just like buying medicine, we know what all the side effects are, but either way, I don't have any other direction to go other than this.
Oh, I fully understand.
And yes, I'd like to expedite it so that I can get going, because I'm sitting here for a year. I got a health hazard sitting on the property with black mold and everything else, just getting worse by the day, and that hasn't been moved off. We need assistance, I need assistance with that, to get that out of here. So anyhow, we want to move forward with the mitigation. I don't know that it needs to be raised 4 feet or what have you, it's all the same process.
Yeah.
But that whole basement was trashed, and of course the house next door was completely totaled. The cottage is still there.
But unfortunately, we don't know which would stand a better chance. It was $90 million statewide, but again, statewide, and I know that there are certain priorities that they may have, so I have no idea if their priorities are going to be at the elevation of projects or the buyouts. So it's unfortunate that they're not going to allow you or us to apply for both. That's too bad. And I just want to mention on elevations, I kind of have to say this. In the past, having gone through the process with Vermont Emergency Management on the other project, I feel strongly that the town ends up being in a bad position insofar as liability, in that if there's any issues that that take place, anything that goes wrong, the town is holding the bag in the end. So just something to think about. And if the board wants to do it, it's easy to put the application in. That's not a big deal.
But is there anybody that
Please let me finish what I'm saying, which is that the heavy lifting will come later. There is an opportunity, I'm told, by Vermont Emergency Management to actually hire, say that the cost of the elevation is, say it's $100,000. They will, not only will they grant us 5% for administration on top of that, but they do now build in the opportunity to have a project manager to assist with it.
Separate from the town.
Yes,
and previous experience was.
Because in the Platts elevation project, it was a lot of work on shading.
Yeah, we got killed on that.
I was doing a lot of meetings myself.
Yeah, we got killed. That was only 3%.
It was on our agenda almost every.
Well, that was my question, is there a project manager that oversees this project?
That's my understanding, that they do that, but in the previous case, I was the project manager on it, and it's just a real time sucker. Not that it was a good or a bad project, it's just saying there's a certain chunk of work that you have to do for $100,000 or $1 million. It's the same work you have to do, and you still only get 5% admin back.
One of the
Whatever we
things,
can do to help with that, we'd be happy to volunteer
Yeah.
our time.
I appreciate it. I heard that from Mercedes as well. Yeah.
I think the most important thing that we identified in other experiences that because it's for an individual in our town, we wanted to avoid having it cost any other townsfolk any money because it's for an individual. So, paying our administrator to do that from town funds as opposed to through a program or having it cost time, whether it's in kind or cash, or, I think that it's an important thing for us as representatives to help protect the rest of the town in that sense. Not that we don't want to help everyone, but when we get in the business of helping individuals, then it gets complicated.
But as a whole, how many people were affected in this town? Other than the main drag there, and in general.
I think everybody was in some capacity,
But
but
Everybody was.
As far as major-
loss.
As far as major damage to buildings, I can't remember that Will had a figure.
our main streets.
I want to say it was like 35, honestly, that had major damage. So looking at the whole town, it's not a huge chunk of the town, but
It's not
it's
everyone, but-
all our neighbors who.
And of
definitely-
those 35, not everybody did a buyout or a mitigation either.
So given the process, I can fully understand why nobody's interested really in either or,
I mean,
to be honest with you.
We were all surprised to hear from the state that it's, basically at least 6 months. They said 6 months to a year. That just was ridiculous.
So anybody that applied through, with FEMA and the SBA, understanding that there's a time frame. So what would be, there's no point in even doing it for 6 months, to even apply for any of this stuff because it's coming due and nothing's been done. So I'm paying on something that hasn't even happened yet.
Tom brings up a good point. It could be that the timeframes are exactly the same. We don't know what they're going to be doing at the
yeah,
state
because
level.
the deadline's August
16th
or something for these applications, and then I can't promise you what the state and FEMA are gonna do for a timeline. I want you to have all the information you can have when you go into this, but I've been fighting the state on many things with this flood already, and I'll fight for that.
We did have other buyout properties
In Irene,
in Irene, right? What was the
Four
timeline
or-
on
I had 2 of them right next to me.
yeah, 4 or 5. The buyouts went quicker, much quicker, but I think they probably,
Well,
I wasn't on the board, so I think they were probably still at least a year, maybe 2.
well, those didn't close out till last summer. I had to do a slew of paperwork.
But they were gone within probably a
Yeah,
year or 2.
and
I don't know for sure.
This time around, the Vermont Emergency Management stated that they would be doing all the work that the town had to do in the past for the buyout. So it seems like that would be an easier process for the town.
But it's my feeling that as a town, it's gonna be a lot of work for us, but we should support our townsfolk.
Absolutely. I think the support is there for sure, just to be clear on what I was saying before, anything to enable the process. But out of fairness, it's not a gratuitous oversight of a project, so having that project manager thing.
Yeah, project manager could really help.
Defined differently, I think that's the one thing that we learned from other experiences, that it's a lot more work for the town to take on than what we probably would sign up for.
Yeah, and again, like the Platts mentioned, the state just holds your feet to the fire on when we get an invoice from the contractor, we pay it in 2 weeks. And then we have to submit it to the state for reimbursement. We have to have all kinds of backup information, literally invoices for nuts and bolts we had to provide, and it just takes forever. And then you only get 75% back anyway. At least at this time around through Vermont Emergency Management, it's 100%. There's no downside for all you guys to apply. It's 100% funded.
What's the process of being turned down on a buyout? What happens and what's the reasoning behind it?
I don't know. I was not here at the time the previous buyouts took place.
I unfortunately can't
10
speak
years
to it either.
ago.
Do you have any?
I'm speaking for me, not GNAT, I'm supposed to say that.
Yep.
But because I'm GNAT, I kind of was here through this whole process for the Pratts and everything. And so I think Tom's right to caution you. On the other hand, I do remember distinctly that the Pratts was a test case for the state. It was like the only place in the state that was elevated. And so hopefully they have learned, like the project management, they have learned something, so hopefully it'll go easier this time. And the other project that got turned down was the Genser property, which is where the barn used to be. And that was because there was a wall to basically protect the bridge. And FEMA said, absolutely everything structural has to go, everything. And what about this wall? And the state looked at it and said, no, we need the wall to protect the bridge. It's only, 18 inches tall or something. But FEMA said, no way, it's gotta go.
Yeah, that ended
So
up
it
going
went
to
to a
us.
community grant, and the Gensers finally got their money years later, but it was a little bit less. It was
It's through the state.
60% instead of 75 or something.
Ended up being a different program because of the requirements or meeting the requirements, and that was V-Trans. That's right across from where the farmer's market is, where the new trees got planted.
I think as I said, and the board agreed, that we should support you guys in any way if we can. It's gonna be, we know it's gonna be work for the town, but I think we owe it to the people who live in town.
Absolutely.
Anyone care to make a motion?
I will. I move to authorize the town administrator to submit a written expression of interest and application with Vermont Energy Management Hazard Mitigation Grant Program for the elevation of property located at 2486 and 2508 Vermont Route 11, owned by Scott Ross. This application would be in place of and replace the buyout application authorized by the Select Board on March 25th, 2024.
What process do I have to go through to get the other house out of there?
I can't answer that for you, I'm sorry. I don't know if FEMA has programs, I don't know if
The trailer?
I don't know if a local contractor might be willing to help out, I don't know.
Well, they are. I mean, there's more than
For money,
for a lot of money.
I mean, can you apply for each, but separate properties by doing so? Like
No,
apply to
I
elevate?
don't believe you can separate the properties for FEMA.
So even though they even though they have different addresses, they're looked at.
It's one property.
It's considered one parcel.
There's no option to subdivide?
No.
I don't believe so.
I thought you had met with Will Goodwin, the zoning administrator, and he said you could.
Only if there's precedent. So if somewhere way back it was split, then it's possible to split
I
again.
see.
But we never found,
It's because it's too small for the zoning district, or?
because it was never split to begin with. It's zoned as one parcel.
It was a piece of, it was farmland.
Right, but if it's a
So-
certain size, if the minimum lot size is, say, 2
Yeah, I'd
acres,
love to
and it's
split it.
4 acres, then you can split it. I don't know, I would talk to Will.
That's something we'll look
But
into. to get rid of
currently,
that.
I would just talk to Will Goodwin, the zoning administrator,
Well, I think that's something you gotta talk to FEMA about.
also, yeah. Did you vote?
No, we haven't voted yet. All those in favor? Aye. Wish you the best of
Thank you.
luck and hopefully it goes smooth for you.
Appreciate it.
I can see why you bought it. It's a nice looking piece of property.
It is.
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just that there was a lot of information left out of it when I bought it.
I think the state's working on a law to make it so that never happens again.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
also helpful.
I'm sure the town will appreciate it, because if
Yeah.
you look back in the history of it, which I'm sure you have, there's been some major floods here.
Oh, 73, I guarantee you that was flooded.
And the dam
Probably the
plays a huge
86.
role in this problem. You can walk across that pond, that's how shallow it is.
The dam is, the committee is gonna be getting the final report, and they're gonna be coming to the select board soon with their recommendation, and then it's gonna be up to us to decide.
So it doesn't go to a town vote?
They can. They can, or we can decide its future by ourselves. And it is something for our, that is something for us to discuss once we get the report.
Right. Fair enough.
It's been a strong point of contention in the area for quite a while.
That's what I've heard.
It's still there,
Yeah, it's still there, causing mayhem.
doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
We can get into that when we have a, on the agenda about the dam.
Well, thank you for your time.
I'll probably be able to get to that next week, put the application in next week.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shane.
All right, we're moving on to 11B, discuss participation in FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, building floodproofing, 2116 and 2136 North Main Street.
No, I don't.
Thank you, you guys. Appreciate your input.
You like to start off on this one here?
Yeah, sure. We received, initially it was an email, I should have included it in the meeting packet, some emails back and forth. Yeah, I first got in contact by Alyssa Sabeto from the Wyndham Regional Commission, then received a phone call from Adam Grinold from the BDCC, and they spoke on behalf of the Platts in their interest in trying to do some, jump in, correct me if I'm wrong on anything, floodproofing of the cafe and the restaurant. You recall some years back, the Platts proposed at the same time as the elevation, a floodproofing, basically building a dike around the restaurant. My recollection is about 375 grand in 2015 or something like that. But there was no application for the cafe, correct? I mean, for the...
And there was an approval for the cafe.
Also?
Yeah.
So, there was two of them?
You posted a permit on our building. It was approved.
Okay, I've only seen designs for the restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, the restaurant, not for the market.
Oh, the market, okay, I misspoke, I said, yeah, so you're looking for both buildings now at this
Now
time?
we're gonna go for both.
Yeah, so,
And we have the engineering drawings done for both.
okay, I don't remember, okay, so for the market, I don't remember seeing that, but I don't disbelieve it. So they're coming back with this proposal, instead of 75% funding in the past, it's 100% funding. It's the same program as the elevation, it's just, I think I did give you a whole bunch of information on the program itself. I did, yes. Hazardous mitigation funding programs, and a different one is, there's the buyouts, structural elevation, and then floodproofing. So this is a floodproofing proposal. I imagine it was 350 grand or whatever it was back then. It's going to be,
For the restaurant.
yeah, it's going to be quite a bit more now. So it's a big ticket project, but it would help preserve these buildings. I don't know what else you all want to say.
Well, we would be adding the market building in on the application as well, those two properties.
Right.
When we began this process, we talked to the record boards, concrete people in Chester, and they said they weren't interested in the process because it would tie up their crews more than they wanted, and they would lose their general contractors that they took care of. And so we went to Valley Concrete in Dummerston, Massachusetts, Larry Gerard, They did the Manchester Library, they did an art center at Stratton, they did condos at Stratton, condos at Mount Snow. They're a really big outfit. When we got the bid from Larry, he said it was $375,000. And desperately, he called us about a week later, he goes, I forgot the rebar. The rebars are another $116,000. It's just not the steel, it's the work of applying it. And the foundation, the normal foundation for a building is, you know, the footing is maybe 2 feet by 8 inches. These were down at that level, 4 feet down, 4 foot wide foundation, 18 inches high, with the solid rebars. And then it would step itself up until it came out of the ground, and then it would have to be 2 feet or 18 inches above the floodplain. Flood level, all rebar, all wicked amount of labor. And so we, with the help of Brattleboro Development Corporation, we went up to Lincoln, Vermont, where there's a building that was built in 1911, which is an opera house, town hall, everything, which this process was done for. And what happens is, wherever there are windows and doors and openings, there are these neoprene troughs that you put in and wank down. It stood 2 foot. So it's been done before, and usually all the technology was done by the English and people in Wales, but after Sandy, Brattleboro and Burlington makes these things now. So that, and we see taking the restaurant, we have 4 apartments now, always rented, always rented. Two vice presidents Stratton rent from us, single guy. When people leave an apartment, they leave a tenant for you, a friend of theirs, because that's how desperate people are for housing. So we want to add 2, and our housing isn't fair to market value. So what do you charge? We're going to add 2 more.
Maybe 4 more.
Yeah, and they're all they're working class people. They're not, we don't rent excuse my language, flatlanders, second homers, or anybody like that. These are people that work in town, belong to the fire, teach at the school. These are community people, some with kids, looking for like a starter house. There aren't any. And Jim worked on the post office. We were advised by FEMA to try to find as local suppliers and labor as possible. And now you can't find an electrician or a plumber or anybody. You know, they're working at the big houses at Stratton.
You can't find me either.
What?
You can't find me either.
Yeah, Jim said he liked working for us, but no more.
I don't want anybody to work out.
Nothing personal.
No, it's just not.
So what I've read here is this project will most likely be over $1 million, I would think. And that is gonna require a full benefit cost analysis from FEMA. And VM says that they would provide technical assistance to sub-applicants, which I assume is class, to determine what the BCA would be. And I don't know if will they do that before the application is in, or is that?
I don't know. What you put your hat in the ring, you're putting in the application, and they contact you and they say, we need more of this, and that's what we did with the buyout. You just get in the front door, then they tell you what you need.
Do you understand what I'm saying with the BCA?
Pardon me?
I was just asking if you guys understood what I was saying with the benefit cost analysis.
Yes.
We had that done before, we imagine it has to be done again.
Yeah, it sounds like it
Things
does.
have to be redid. It's all going to take time. We've been through this process. It has been a learning process for us as well. And one nice thing that came out of it is that FEMA is coming to town in July to scout the post office project. And then they're sending a film crew to film it as a success story for FEMA. And, you know, it's something that.
And Shane can document about what a pain in the ass the project was, but I think many of those things don't come up again. because it's been resolved.
But you're right, we learned a lot through that process, for sure.
We learned a lot.
And the state learned a lot.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Everybody was their first time.
Well, in talking to Ben Rose, who's the head of FEMA for the state, in the end, he said, none of us knew what we were doing.
Well, that's nice to know now.
Well,
5 years.
well,
It was a lot of heavy lifting at that project.
And they were tied up with COVID. They had people dying. Don't worry about flu.
Well, I think as with the one we just talked about, the same things.
Yeah.
You know, we definitely want to support our townspeople and, you know, at the risk of it taxing the board and our administrator, you know, excessively, I think if we can do the project management, if this new process is less burdensome, I think it'll maybe be an easier path to similar success.
It's still gonna take a long time.
Yeah. And you know, as I said before, I feel an obligation just to remind the board that it is, that the town is holding the bag in the end if anything goes wrong on this. FEMA will, it all runs downhill to the town. And so that's my only concern about this.
And the tricky part with that is that the town has to be involved, right? There's no option.
That's
of
correct.
Facilitating that type of program.
We had to put it out to bid, so the construction contract is with the town.
They can't enter into this project without the town
Has to be
being, putting the application in.
So the town puts out an invitation to bid, the town, you know, gets the engineer, and so it's,
And from what I know, that's a state rule, correct? The way the state runs it, that's what I've heard. I'm not positive,
but there's no written rules, it's just, you just go with whatever they say, and you push back when it's unreasonable.
We ready for a motion? I move to authorize the town administrator to submit a written expression of interest and application to Vermont Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Grant Program for the flood proofing of property located at 2116 and 2136 North Main Street, owned by Thomas and Judith Platt.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Again, I'll try to get those in next week.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to 11C, ratify 6/3/2024 decision to issue a second-class liquor license to Dairy Downtown Limited, the Garden Market and Restaurant.
I move to ratify the board's 6/3/2024 decision to approve a second-class liquor license for the Garden Market and Restaurant related to property located at 2116 North Main Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to item 12, new business. 12A, consider a request to use town hall. I think this is from BDCC, correct?
Yeah, they have that really interesting program where they try to bring the people in from elsewhere to move into the state. And so they'd like to, you know, spend a day with people from elsewhere and try to introduce them to the state of Vermont and get people to move here. So that's what, it's just a day-long meeting that they'd like to hold, and they think it's a good location.
Is the Playhouse out of there by then?
They are.
That's my next question.
Yeah, they're out of there by then.
The end of July or something, isn't it?
Yeah, this is what, August 8th, I think it is? Yeah,
August 8th.
they're gone by then, I checked.
I see no reason
Yeah,
not
with
to let them use it.
no known conflict, I would make that motion.
Yeah.
I move to authorize use of the town hall for a day-long meeting by the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation on Thursday, August 8th, 2024, and to authorize the town administrator to sign the facility use agreement on behalf of the town.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to 12B, consider request for use of Pingree Park and use of alcoholic beverages in the public place. Community lunch event by James Ammerman Jr. and Anthony Boston.
Mr. Boston's here, maybe he wants to make a presentation or just talk to the board about?
Yeah, I mean, the idea
Pretty
basically.
straightforward.
Yeah, yeah. No, the idea basically just stemmed from James and I talking about just everything that's been going on in town recently and everything else. And we wanted to do something that would just be good for everybody, an opportunity for the community to get together and just have a nice time. So, you know, it started as this idea of doing a cookout. I think we'll do different kinds of family-friendly games and activities. You know, like cornhole, face painting, the generic kind of things. And that's pretty much it. I'll sponsor it through the butcher shop, so that I'll be supplying all of the food and everything. And so I emailed Kelly just reaching out to see what would be the process of using something like town land like Henry Park, because there's no way to know. It could be 15 people that show up, it could be 200. So we'll be ready either way, but then that led to space that would allow for all of that. So if you want anybody, and it doesn't just have to be Londonderry or South Londonderry, I don't care if you're from Weston or Andover or anywhere else, I encourage the more the merrier. So yeah, and she basically brought up, you know, alcohol, things like that, insurance and all of that. So I figured, all right, I don't think, you know, we don't obviously plan to serve alcohol, but I think that we all know how things like this, you're not going to stop people from bringing it. So I figured if that's an option, great. If not, I'm not too worried about it. When I booked the insurance policy tentatively, because I've got enough time between now and when we're requesting to do this to cancel that if this doesn't work out, then I selected to have the coverage for that as well. Just like I said, to err on the safe side. But there's not going to be any selling of anything. There's not going to be any.
Yeah, just BYOB.
Yeah, yeah. And then here's some free food. Have a good time. Enjoy your family, enjoy your neighbors. You know.
We all know that alcohol is going to make it there.
It's going to be there no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's other examples of successful gatherings like that. There was
That's
fundraising for
September, that's
for
fall.
Parks Board or something, right?
Was that, there was a fundraiser last
Rotary
fall.
did a cornhole tournament, I believe.
Yeah, there was a cornhole tournament last year. Yep.
There's we got the poster up there. Flood event.
Yeah, we're hoping to do it actually next Sunday.
Oh,
Kind of
maybe
prepped
that's
up on this. We weren't sure how long it would take to get this meeting underway, so it's going to be a bit of a scramble, but you know, we're happy to do it either way.
We did the flood fundraiser too, and that was BYOB.
What hours were you planning on doing?
We haven't really said anything specific. The insurance covers us for the full day, so I would like to start midday and just kind of have it be as long as people want to be there having fun. We'll stay as late as we need to get it all cleaned up and wrapped up in the end. I don't anticipate going past dark necessarily. It's not like we're planning like nighttime activities or anything like that. But we're prepared to bring in extra porta potties if need be, you know, do whatever needs to happen to make that happen. I've also been in contact with Liam Elliott. He is fully willing to help in whatever way as far as organizing activities, things like that. And then that led me to the idea of it might be nice, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, I guess you guys give me guidance on that, but it'd be nice to do, if we're gonna have all these people together anyway, some sort of fundraiser. So he mentioned that was Mountain Town Recreation doesn't really have any direct source of funding. So I brought up Floodbrook and, you know, the Youth Sports Association and all that, and he mentioned that, so I figured, great, if that's what you think needs it the most. Again, kind of like the event, we might get nothing, we might be able to get something for them, but I'm happy to do that too.
Yeah, I think Kelly and Liam are probably both really good resources for putting on those types of events.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any pushback from Kelly or anyone. So.
I have never heard of cornhole. What is it?
A cornhole. It's basically, you got a 2 foot by 4 foot long board, and it's got a hole towards the top. It's at a bit of an angle, and you put one on one side, one about, I don't know, 30 feet away on the other side, and then you throw little bean bags and try
So
to
it's just a beanbag toss.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like horseshoes with beanbags.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah. I don't see any films. Anyone else?
I move to authorize the use of Pingree Park by and grant a permit allowing the use and consumption of alcoholic beverages to James A. Amadon Jr. and Anthony Boston for a Londonderry community lunch on Sunday, June 30th, 2024 from 12 to 8.
Perfect.
From 12 to 8 p.m. subject to the conditions that one, the permittee shall adhere to all local regulations and ordinances, including the town's ordinance relating to the use of alcoholic beverages in public places and the town's facility use policy. And 2, provision prior to the event of an acceptable certificate of insurance indicating adequate liability insurance and which names the town as an additional insured.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And Shane, did you get the updated insurance policy?
It came in.
Today. Yeah, you should be all set. And the company actually said that the town should have been on the initial one, but I guess it's something to do with the way that you either enter in a parcel code to select the park or look it up and.
Yeah, we were listed, but just not as an additional.
Yeah, so it should have been on the first one, but it didn't autofill correctly, so that ended up being really easy to like recommend the change thing.
Super.
If you could just.
I didn't see it,
let
but
me know
I'm
if
sure
there's
it's
anything
fine.
else that needs to be done on that, I would do it.
As a community, we probably look forward to having some fun down there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on to 11C, town hall usage. I don't know what the motion was.
No, we already moved it around so the other guys could be in when they were out. I guess they're in.
Yeah, this is the Western Theater.
Consideration of an additional request for use of town hall.
Yeah, the Western Theater group wants to have a meeting there this Saturday. It's outside of the original time that they'd been allocated. So we just want to try to accommodate them. They've been good to the facility. We'd like to continue to be good with them. And if you remember, when they were approved some time ago to use that block of time last month, it was also included a block of time in this coming month, provided everything went well. Everything went well, so there's no reason not to allow them to use that. We do know now that July 13th, and probably the day before for setup, will be used for town meeting. We know we can't be there at that time, so.
And they offered, for their first time there at the town hall, they offered to pay the electric bill, and I told Tina that sounds great.
Yeah, so
Nice.
they're very happy to be able to use it, and they're treating it well.
They're actually the ones who alerted us about the leak in the bathroom, and they cleaned it all up, so. I think they were in there.
It's
actually.
better to have people there than
Yeah.
sitting empty, for sure.
Okay. I move to authorize the use of the town hall for a meeting of the Western Theater Company on Saturday, June 22nd, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and to authorize the town administrator to sign the facility use agreement on behalf of the town.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't think of this earlier, but July 13th is coming right up, and I just was wondering if you would consider doing a candidates night, or if that's off the table.
We briefly discussed it at one meeting, but we never really made any decisions.
Cannabis night?
Schedule it.
Candidate is every night for you.
Candidate night. Candidate.
Yeah.
Favorite part. So Taylor Firm approached me about doing an ice cream social on a Friday and hosting a candidates night. Asked my thoughts. I said, whatever you want to do is fine. That's the last I heard of it. I didn't know if you guys heard anything about that.
No.
But I just wanted to say that evidently it's out there, but that's the last I heard of it. So.
I almost think you get a better showing if it's not the town who does it, because when the town did it, it was people from the town committees and maybe one or two people from the community, honestly. It was mostly people involved with the town already. So I think you'd have a better showing that way. If Jim is willing to join you.
Yeah, my response to them was however they want to set it up, I'm easy.
Because the only two I know about who have publicly stated.
Jimmy and I have talked about it, we're very friendly contest between the two of us, so.
Yeah, I think if you two agree to it, that's perfectly fine. It's not sponsored by the town, so.
Before you adjourn, there's a meeting scheduled for Monday, select board. Do you want to? What?
We got the road crew reviews.
For evaluations, and also a pavement.
I'm just gonna stay here.
You live across the street, but
Well, hopefully next month is a little less.
yeah, and then, but we'll also have paving bids that came in and sand bids. Do you want to meet it earlier or at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock? What do you want to do?
I wouldn't mind doing it earlier, but
Yeah, 5 works for me.
If we could do 5.
Sounds good.
Done.
Perfect.
Makes my life easier. That's good.
All right, Jim, you want to make your motion?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
We have a second. All those in favor? Aye.